Here we are on Loch Gilp in the Firth of Clyde, making our way towards Ardrishade and the entrance to the Crinan Canal. The name of the canal comes from the village of Crinan at its western end. It is 9 miles long and provides a navigable route between the Clyde and the Inner Hebrides, avoiding the need for a long diversion around Kintyre Peninsula and in particular the exposed Mull of Kintyre. The canal is 10 feet deep and has essentially no height limit and can therefore provide passage for a wide variety of craft. It was originally built for commercial sailing vessels and later Clyde puffers to travel between the industrialised regions around Glasgow to the western Highland villages and islands. Work on the most beautiful shortcut in the world began in 1771 when James Watt surveyed the district to find a course for the canal originally planned by John Rennie. The Crinan Act was passed in 1793 and work started in 1794. Thomas Telford superintended the build. Funding for the canal came from London as well as Glasgow, but the money ran out in 1801. With the help of government loans and additional funding, the canal was finally finished in 1809. Problems, particularly with the locks, meant that some parts of the canal had to be redesigned, a task that fell again to Thomas Telford in 1816. In 1823, a large section of the canal bank, approximately 3 miles north of Ardrishade, failed, and the course of the canal was altered to avoid the marshy ground which had been causing the problem. Given these misfortunes, it is no surprise that the Crinan Canal never became financially self-supporting. By 1854, the canal was carrying 33,000 passengers, 27,000 sheep, and 2,000 cattle. By 1906, most of the revenue was obtained from goods traffic, but at $6,000 a year this hardly covered the operating costs. Nonetheless, the canal continued as an important local amenity and as a vital supply line to the Highlands and Islands. Worse was to come in 1859, when a reservoir dam burst. Millions of gallons of water, along with hundreds of tons of rocks, boulders, peat and mud were released, spreading in both directions along the canal and wrecking locks, pounds, public roads and canal banks, though miraculously without any loss of life. Between 1930 and 1932, new sea locks were built at either end, making the canal accessible at any state of the tide. Lock 14 and the canal bank between Crinan and Balloch were extensively improved as recently as 1991. The canal is now used largely by yachts as well as fishing vessels. The canal became the responsibility of British Waterways in 1962 and is now operated by Scottish Canals. This area of Scotland is well known as a haven for all kinds of wildlife, and along the canal you can find herons, wrens, otters and wild trout. As you pass the surrounding pine forest you might also catch a glimpse of deer and rare red squirrels. Recently, beavers were released in the area in an attempt to reintroduce the species to Scotland. Moyne Moor, the Great Moss, is a lowland raised bog, a rugged and beautiful landscape that is the wild heartland of Kilmartin Glen. It is one of Europe's rarest and most threatened wildlife habitats. The best views of Moyne Moor are from here on the Crinan Canal near Ballinlough. On the waterlogged system of pools and bogs alongside the gentle twists and turns of the River Add, you can find hen harriers, curlews, as well as an impressive range of dragonflies. The towpath is part of National Cycle Network Route 78, which links Campbelltown, Oban and Fort William. For many years, some of the most prominent sites on the canal were the Clyde Puffers, little cargo vessels that were designed to fit the Forth and Clyde and Crinan Canals. They delivered coal to the west coast, bringing back whisky and other produce. Today there are only two puffers left on the canal, Old Reekie and Vic 32, which are based at the Canal Basin at Crinan. The canal itself no longer carries freight, although the harbour at Aberystwyth is important for Scotland's timber trade. I hope you've enjoyed our little cruise on the Crinan Canal, a popular route for leisure crafts sailing the west coast of Scotland. It's used by nearly 2,000 boats a year.